Welcome to Lock It Down Sports. I'm Locke Hoover. And as always, you can follow me on X at Lock It Up Media. That's Lock It Up Media on X. You can also check us out at E5280 Sports. That's E5280 Sports. And today on the Lock It Down Sports show, we have a big trade before the NFL season. If UT season could have been different last year, and show me the money. And that's exactly where we're starting off today's show. And that's money and showing it. As interesting report came out, and I'm glad it came out. It's pretty cool to see the distribution of where the money's going for the Power 4 NIL money, as how much each of the Power 4 conferences have spent and allocated on positions. So the top four in the SEC, this surprised me a little bit. Wide receiver at 15.9%. Defensive line, number 2 at 15.5. Quarterback is 3 at 15.1. And O-line is 4 at 14.4. Surprised me. I figured quarterbacks would be the highest allocated money spent. But now that I think about it, I mean, it does kind of make sense that receiver would be up there because you only have three quarterbacks. You've got 6, you've got what, 7, 8, 9, sometimes 10 wide receivers. So yeah, there's going to be a little bit more money distributed in that realm. Let's go to the ACC. ACC, the number one for money allocation is quarterback at 19.4. The O-line is number 2 at 17%. Wide receiver 3 at 16.3. And a defensive line is number 4 at 15.5. Big Ten, once again, the wide receiver number 1 at 16.8. The O-line is number 2 at 15.5. Quarterbacks 3 at 14.4. And DB is at number 4 at 13.3. Big Ten, quarterback is the leading one and the most spent. 23.1%. DB on their conference is number 2 at 14.4. Wide receivers 3 at 11.5. And then running back is number 4 at 10.8. Just some things that kind of stood out to me. 3 out of 4 of the top spending positions are offense for all conferences. Receiver, quarterback, O-line. Which I get. And that just, once again, that distribution of you got to have quality offensive linemen to protect the quarterback who is one of your top 4 spenders and your most important position. I think another interesting thing about this too is the SEC was the most balanced with when it comes to spending, allocating NIL dollars, as 57 to 43% ratio offense to defense. ACC was the most uneven of a 70-30 split of offense to defense. Big Ten, 62 offense, 38 defense. And Big 12, 64 offense, 36 defense. And looking at these numbers, and you just kind of, and just seeing the styles of play, it makes sense. Big Ten, usually it's a lot of shootouts. So they have they believe in they might they might not get the top tier talent everywhere, so they've got to invest big in a quarterback to potentially, get them to where they want to go. On the opposite end, with the defense, with the quarterback, they're going to be investing in the defensive backs to try to cover those receivers that the quarterback's slinging to. So that very much plays out. And also in this chart, the most distributed evenly for the most part, I think, was the SEC. As far as allocations everywhere and all over the place. So very kind of cool, interesting little layout there when it comes to ratios and money. There's a full chart you can go look at. But also with this chart, I did some more digging. And 8 college football teams were in the top 25 in points scored per game. And they all averaged over 35 points per game. 8 were in the top 30 in total offense. So, once again, that kind of supports the offensive 3 of the top 4 offensive spending positions and the leaning toward offense when it comes to balance. Now, also with this, it broke down how much is being spent, how much players are making. And I'm surprised by this. I thought this was very interesting. Only 0.3, I repeat that, 0.3 are making more than $1 million. Which I read that, I was like, huh. That's okay. All right. Kind of surprised me. And only 0.6% are making between $999,000 and $500,000. So the rest of your college football rosters making anywhere between $499,000 and less than $10,000. And in fact, 66.5 are making less than $10,000. So that's an interesting little breakdown of that. It's not as top heavy as you would think. It's not a bunch of guys making $1 million. It's the elite or the select few of the select few. It's the quarterback on every team. Might not be even every team, but it's the 1%. It's the defensive end that's making $750,000. But the rest, less than $500,000. That's the majority of college football players, less than $500,000. Which, yeah, if you're making $150,000, you're absolutely still gonna, that's a good salary for the next 4 years. I'd take that, $150,000, absolutely, $250,000, whatever, But that's where we are at college football. People they're not making as much as you would imagine. And that makes me feel a little bit better, I guess. I guess. But I'm curious to see this year by year how it distributes and how it's the money spread out on the conferences and position, because it's always, to me, that's always very fascinating what the layout and the divide is. Now, we know, of course, college football has already started. Some games started on Thursday. We got games on Friday, and then the big weekend on Saturday. Now, with that being said, there's some recent news that came out. I wanted to take a look back at the 2024 season really quick. And the reason I want to do that is because it's been reported, it's come out and said that former quarterback for Tennessee Vols, Nico, on his bye week in Knoxville, said, "Know what? I've got a bye this week. I'm off. I'm going to go to the UCLA Oregon game in the Rose Bowl." Okay. First off, that's not ideal. It's not a good look for your teammates, especially it being coming out now that you did it. And then, oh yeah, on top of that, let's lose in Fayetteville to Arkansas the following week off your bye week, 19-14, where you only threw for 158 yards, no touchdowns or interceptions, and you were 17 for 29. Oh yeah. On top of that, the final play you run out of bounds with no time on the clock. Not a good look at all. You weren't playing great already in SEC play. In conference play, you weren't playing well. Wouldn't you want to spend a little extra time in the film room, a little extra time on that practice field, working on some things, getting connected with your receivers, maybe working on your deep ball, which you sucked at all last year, and you're going to suck again at it at UCLA. But you did throw a good deep ball. The offense is designed around the running game and hitting your deep ball passes. And guess what? We were good at one of those two things. And it wasn't the deep ball which stretched the field. They couldn't stretch the field because you couldn't connect to the deep ball, Nico. Shouldn't you spend a little bit more time working? You got 2 weeks to work on the deep ball, the touch. Yes, you've been working it all season, but you had 2 weeks to prepare. Now, you run off to UCLA to watch a game when you're on a playoff appearance trajectory. At that point, it's still early in the season. You're playing well. You're in a playoff trajectory. So maybe you stay undefeated. You probably would have ended the season with one loss, losing at Georgia. It changes the outlook of the season. Maybe then you go to the SEC championship game. Maybe not. Who knows? Kind of depending on how things end up shaking out. Maybe you in the SEC. Then you have a bye that first round because you're a conference champ. Maybe you don't go to the SEC championship game, but you're one last team, so you're probably a higher seed in the playoffs, and you get a better draw. Maybe you end up getting the draw of an Indiana and a Boise, and you probably win that game. And then you advance even further. Who knows how things play out, how the bracket shakes out. Now, I don't think you're winning a title last year, based on how Ohio State played. No one was beating Ohio State in the playoffs. Absolutely no one. But it gives you another game or two, and it gives you more money in your pocket, more money for the conference, which in turn is more money in your pocket. And it gets these guys more experience for maybe a run next year, or the seniors, people graduating, this is their last game, their last opportunity to play one more football game, if not going pro. It makes me wonder how locked in Nico really was. And just also how much more impressive after this coming out the season was when you had the offensive player of the year in Dylan Sampson and the defense, number 6 total defense, number 7 in total defensive ranking, defensive rankings. Overall, impressive stuff when you look at what they were dealing with at quarterback, and the fight every single day I'm sure it was with Nico, and every week to, hey, you want to do a little bit more? Hey, work on your deep ball. No, I'm good. I'm the $2 million man. I'm good. I got my money. And you suck. So just a testament to, I think, the team as a whole and what they've done and what they did that season despite the quarterback play. And he was probably the highest paid guy on the team, producing like an average Joe, producing like a guy that should be making $10,000 or less. Guy making over $1 million, producing like a guy in the $10,000 range. They did that despite. So it's frustrating. It's even more frustrating now looking back after this comes out of, are you serious? It's very frustrating. I'm glad this comes out right before the season, so you can't stew on it and be mad and frustrated very much about it, because we had a game on Saturday and it's Syracuse and we're ready to go. We've got a quarterback. We're set. Flush it as a fan, and let's see what we can do this season with our defense, our young starting wide receivers who've got to step up. They've got to step up because there's a lot that left in the transfer portal and we didn't bring anybody in. There's a lot riding on these freshman, sophomore, 4 or 5-star guys. They trust them. They believe in them to make plays in this offense. And that's an important thing. The trust, now they've got to go produce and step up. Now, I was really surprised by this trade when it happened in the NFL. That's Micah Parsons going to the Packers. And I read that trade and I go, that's it. That's it. As they received a 2 first rounds picks and defensive tackle from the Green Bay Packers. And I go, just 2 firsts and a defensive tackle for Micah Parsons, one of the premier defensive ends in the league, one of the top sack getters in the league. Would you try to get a dominant, disruptive defensive end? All I was traded for was 2 firsts. It's like, what? Looking around, that's all we had to give up for him? Yes, I mean, sure, Dallas freed up cap space right now, and then they won't be in the position to basically force to re-sign him or franchise tag him. And so, yeah, they got more money to play with, and they've got 2 first-round picks to work with. But you lost the second most important thing on your team, pass rusher, getting after the quarterback. So, after this trade, I was like, what did Khalil Mack net for the Raiders? And it was 2 firsts, a third, and a 6th. Mack went to the Bears. They got a 2nd and a 5th. And I'm like, isn't that really kind of on par with what you're looking for? Yes, same age, or I think Parsons was a year younger than Khalil Mack for the trade. But I wonder how much the league knew Micah Parsons was truly available. Yeah, you hear the rumor, but am I really going to waste my time and engage making the call, potentially getting a proposal to present to the Cowboys when I know it's a long shot or there's not even really a shot? Why would I even engage? Why would I even worry? Why would I even invest my time in it when I've got so much to do right before the season with working on my roster, seeing if there's any guys I want to sign off the scrap heap to shore up my roster for my practice squad, that sort of thing. So there's obviously a lot going on right now, right before the season, with roster management, construction, and how we want to lay things out and that sort of thing. I get it. But if the Cowboys and Jerry Jones would have called every team in the league saying, hey, Micah Parsons is really available. Micah Parsons is really available. I'm going to hang up, come up with your best offer. All teams in the league. I think you could have got more of a bidding war. More of let's call the Chargers back. Okay, the Chargers offer this. Green Bay, do you want to do it? Where you at? Something else. Atlanta, willing to offer, things like that, a back and forth conversation, because these guys are going to grow on trees. They're elite pass rushers, can make elite plays, and they're not easy to find. You have to draft these guys. Very rarely are they available in a trade. And like I say that very rarely, as I'm referring to Khalil Mack and Micah Parsons. I mean, look, the Browns just locked up Myles Garrett to a huge deal, who was probably going to command a lot in free agency. And not a lot of teams had that money, or, and they drafted him. The Browns drafted him. That's their guy. So there's a lot to this. And I don't think he was properly shopped, because if he was properly shopped, then you would have gotten a lot more, I think, a better offer. And, right? Cowboys viewing, hey, the 2 picks and freed up that money as maybe a better way for their franchise. Jerry Jones, I said, hey, maybe this is our Herschel Walker type trade. Maybe not. To wait and see what they do with those 2 first. Historically, though, I've seen it'll essentially be 2 late first round picks, because of what Green Bay Packers franchise and what they've been able to do. Play well, make it to the playoffs means you're drafting late in the first round. So it's one of those. We'll see how it works out. But if it's me, I like the Green Bay Packers side of the deal. And they had money, so they locked him up. They locked up Micah Parsons. It's a win. It's an absolute win to get that kind of pass rush, that disruption. Makes the defense a whole lot better. And you get to lock him up for 2 hypothetically late round picks. And he's going to make your defense better, which might, put some more wins on the board. So can almost essentially with late round picks because of Micah Parsons, and they did this without him. So one of those, a wait and see what he's done, what he's going to do, and how the trade shakes out overall. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at LockItUpMedia. That's LockItUpMedia on X. You've been listening to Lock It Down Sports. I'll talk to you next week. Football season is here finally, and enjoy it these next few months. Talk to you next week.